In the world of basketball, few names evoke the same mixture of admiration, debate, and respect as Paul George. To some, he's a smooth-scoring, two-way superstar who can dominate on both ends of the floor. To others, he's a player defined by untimely injuries, missed chances, and the heavy shadow of expectations. But no matter where you stand, one thing is undeniable. The story of Paul George is a story of resilience. This is the journey of PG-13, from a young kid in Palmdale, California, to one of the most versatile and polarizing stars in the NBA. Early life and rise to the NBA, Paul Clifton Anthony George was born on May 2, 1990, in Palmdale, California. Unlike many NBA stars, George wasn't a highly celebrated prodigy from the beginning. He wasn't the #1 player in his high school class, nor did he enter college as a can't-miss prospect. Instead, George's story was built on steady growth and determination. At Knight High School, he wasn't immediately the centerpiece of his team. But as his body grew and his skill set expanded, people started to notice. His length, athleticism, and defensive instincts stood out, and soon enough, Fresno State University offered him a chance to shine at the collegiate level. On draft night, the Indiana Pacers took a chance on him with the 10th overall pick. At the time, some fans questioned the choice. 10 years later, that decision would look like one of the smartest moves the Pacers ever made. The birth of a star. In Indiana, Paul George's development was gradual but noticeable. By his 3rd season, he had established himself as one of the league's premier defenders. His size, wingspan, and agility allowed him to guard multiple positions, from point guards to power forwards. But what truly elevated his profile was his performance against the league's best. During the early 2010s, the Eastern Conference was ruled by LeBron James and the Miami Heat. But the Pacers, led by a young Paul George, became one of Miami's fiercest challengers. In the 2013 Eastern Conference Finals, George went toe-to-toe with LeBron. He hit clutch shots, defended at a high level, and proved he belonged in the conversation among the league's elite. The devastating injury. But then, in 2014, everything changed. Late in the game, Paul George went up to contest a layup, a move he had done countless times in his career. But when he landed, his right leg struck the stanchion beneath the basket. The crack of bone echoed through the arena, and George collapsed instantly. The sight was gruesome, so graphic that television broadcasts quickly cut away. Broken leg of that magnitude wasn't just painful, it was potentially career-ending. Doctors made it clear that the road ahead would be brutal. The injury required surgery, months of rehabilitation, and an immense amount of physical therapy. Recovery from such an injury was uncertain. Some players never returned to form. Their athleticism permanently diminished. Others could return, but only as shadows of their former selves. For George, the mental battle was just as tough as the physical one. Overnight, he had gone from being one of the NBA's brightest young stars, the face of the Indiana Pacers, the man who had gone toe-to-toe with LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals, to a player lying in a hospital bed, facing the possibility that his career might never be the same. It would have been easy for him to give up, to let doubt consume him. But Paul George was built differently. Rehabilitation became his life. Day after day, George committed himself to the grind, rebuilding strength in his leg, regaining mobility, retraining his body to do the things it once did effortlessly. But behind the scenes, it wasn't glamorous. There were setbacks, pain, and days when progress felt painfully slow. Athletes often describe rehab as one of the loneliest experiences in sports, and for George, the struggle was real. Yet he kept pushing, motivated by his love for the game and the desire to prove doubters wrong. And then, in a poetic twist, George drilled a three-pointer in his very first game back. It was as if basketball itself had given him a welcome home gift. Over the next few seasons, George slowly rebuilt himself. It wasn't instant, and there were still whispers that he'd never be that guy again. but with each passing year, he proved them wrong. His explosiveness returned. His defensive instincts remained sharp. His scoring touch grew more polished. By the time he was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2017, Paul George had already rewritten the narrative. He wasn't just back. He was better than ever. Fans who once doubted him began to respect him even more. His peers recognized the difficulty of his journey, praising his mental toughness and his refusal to quit. And to George himself, the injury became a source of strength. It reminded him of everything he had overcome, fueling his hunger to achieve even greater things on the court. For many athletes, such an injury would have ended their careers. For Paul George, it became the moment that truly defined him. It tested his limits, reshaped his identity, and ultimately revealed the kind of competitor he really was. And when fans watch Paul George glide down the court today, hitting step-back threes or locking up the opponent's best scorer, they're not just watching a basketball player. They're watching a man who refused to let tragedy write his ending, a man who turned the unthinkable into a comeback that will be remembered for generations. After several seasons with the Pacers, George's career took another turn. In 2017, he was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder to join Russell Westbrook. For many, this pairing was exciting. Westbrook's relentless energy combined with George's smooth scoring seemed like a recipe for success. It was an unfair simplification of a complex player. But in the NBA, narratives stick, and George's was now under scrutiny. In 2019, another massive twist arrived. Paul George requested a trade, and in a blockbuster move, he was sent to the Los Angeles Clippers to join Kawhi Leonard. For George, this was a homecoming. He was back in California, playing for a team that suddenly had championship aspirations. In the 2020 NBA bubble, the Clippers collapsed against the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals. George, who admitted to mental health struggles during the bubble, became a target of intense criticism. Social media mocked him, labeling him Pandemic P. It was brutal, unfair, and relentless. The legacy of Paul George today, Paul George stands as one of the NBA's most fascinating figures. He is an 8-time All-Star, a 6-time All-NBA selection, and one of the best two-way players of his generation. He's respected by peers, feared by defenders, and admired by fans who understand the resilience it took to overcome everything he has faced. What cannot be denied is his impact. Young players look up to him as proof that perseverance pays off. Fans recognize his game as one of the smoothest and most complete in the league. And critics, even when they doubt him, can't ignore his talent. Paul George's story is still being written. As he continues his career with the Los Angeles Clippers, the question remains, can he and Kawhi Leonard finally deliver a championship to the franchise? Or will George's legacy always be defined by what could have been? One thing is certain, from Palmdale to Fresno, from Indiana to Oklahoma City, and now in Los Angeles, Paul George has shown the heart of a fighter. He is not just a basketball player, he is a symbol of resilience, growth, and redemption. What do you think? Is Paul George underrated, overrated, or exactly where he belongs among the NBA's greats? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape the game of basketball.